in your worldview, right? I'm going to tell you, the worse it gets, the more false beliefs you have, the more trouble you have in life.
Well, could the reality issue just simply be because we haven't discovered many things? So we're gonna have a whole certain worldview because we just haven't discovered certain aspects of our world, of our culture.
Right.
So I think that might happen,
Yeah.
I think that might be the case.
That could be the case.
For example, the dinosaur issue.
Right, yeah. So that is possible, as a, for lack of a Star Trek term, I have a Star Trek term, but for lack of a better term, other than a Star Trek term, the collective. So, as a collective, as a world population, if all of us, let's say combined together, we don't have information on a particular issue, yet we are in some way affected by that issue that is unknown to us in reality. Okay, then to that extent, not only are we disconnected from it, we don't have a grip on that thing, but it may affect us in a negative way. As a Christian, I would argue that man's ability to come to terms with all of reality and what we know about it is finite and limited, and it is one of the reasons that we need revelation. See, because revelation helps inform us about things that we could never come to understand from our own rational faculties, from our own ability to try to think these things out. If there is a God, then any worldview that doesn't believe in a God will always come short in their ability to explain all of reality and its importance of reality. Their explanations will come short to some extent, if God is true, because the human faculty is unable. It has a ceiling, and once it bumps up against that ceiling, that's as far as our knowledge is going to go. And anything beyond that ceiling, somebody needs to tell us, and it can't be a human being who's only human. Right? Make that qualification for those of the Christians.
Like, what's the purpose of man? Why are we here?
Right.
Or like,
Some of these really,
when were we created? Why were we created?
some of these fundamental questions that every human being, I think, if they stop, if they're kind of the reflective type of human being, has to answer these questions. And all of the major worldviews throughout history have tried to answer these questions because they are fundamental to our existence. They are existential questions. They have to do with our existence. They're existential. Why am I here? What should I be doing? What, like you said, what is my purpose? Why is everybody else here? How come it's not just me? Why does that guy got to be existing? That guy gives me a hard time all the time. Why does he got to be here? That's kind of self-centered. I just make a little fun about it. I want to say, yeah, go ahead.
So it seems like we're getting into a little bit of reality. There's the visible and the invisible reality. And many people live their lives according to the visible reality because they don't see the invisible reality. And the invisible reality would be some of the things that God has revealed in His Word that He's brought forth. And then we get more of a picture of the true reality only when we take into consideration the spiritual reality also. And would that be a fair statement of developing, how to develop a worldview?
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
That is reflective of the Christian worldview. However, not every worldview is what you have to say. If you want me to speak generically,
Right, but then wouldn't those worldviews that if the reality is true, that it is made up of visible and invisible, then a reality that only speaks to the visible would then be only a partial truth. And as a partial truth would be less of a world less of a good rounded view of the worldview.
Sure, yeah, and not to pick on you, but just to try to maybe make a little bit of a clarification. I wouldn't want to say partial truth, because someone would think that something can only be somewhat true, but it would be true concerning only part of reality, and not all.
Good point.
Right, okay. So one time, just to kind of share a personal story, I used to know this guy. I know a lot of things in my life, and I'm not trying to brag or nothing like that, but sometimes I look back and I'm quite amazed at the things that I did by the time I was like 25 years old. And so anyways, one of the things I used to do was, when I was about 17 years old, I worked for the Sheriff's Department in their search and rescue division. So we marched around the mountains, looked for people, most of them dead, unfortunately, because they were dumped off after a particular crime. So I used to work with this guy, and I asked him, I said, what do you think happens when you die? This is something we're confronted with. Now, let me give you a qualification. I didn't become a Christian until I was 19. So when I asked him this question, I'm not a Christian. And he said he believed it was like the movie Ghost. Anybody ever seen that movie Ghost?
Yeah.
With, what's the lady's name?
More.
Debbie Moore? Yeah, and Patrick Swayze, right? Which is like good people go to heaven, and bad people go to hell. And if you're a good person, these nice angels show up, and they escort you to heaven. And if you're a bad person, there's these like blind guys, like, and they drag you down, into the bad place where nobody wants to go, and you try to kick and scream and stuff like that, And then, the ghosts that are still wandering around, those are people with unresolved issues. That's the movie Ghost, right? So, because Patrick Swayze's like, oh no, I gotta solve this murder, right, before I'm gone. And so, that was his worldview. Now, it's interesting because that worldview implies many things. It implies that there's a spiritual reality, there's a physical reality, there's heaven, there's hell. It implies an ethic, okay? That there's actually good, there's actually bad, and somehow this is being measured, at least by the angels that are either dragging you up, or I shouldn't say dragging you up, but escorting you up, because you wouldn't be dragging that direction. You'd be like, oh, right with it, we're dragging you down, right? So, it's just this one little explanation that he gives. I think it's like the movie Ghost, implies all these different things. Reality, ethics, heaven, all these kind of things. Purpose, are supposed to resolve all the unresolved issues or whatever. And I said I would get to this. I have notes. What happens is I type these notes up, and I get these ideas and I throw them in my notes. And sometimes they don't always fit into how I end up developing my lecture, because once I start talking, I just rattle on and stuff like that. But because it's there, and I figured this is a good time to bring it up. We were talking about the conflicts within a worldview, and I brought one up actually last night when we were talking. And just to kind of make you think about something, this is the importance of worldviews. Suppose I believe I have a soul, which is a non-physical kind of thing. For lack of a better term, say it's a spiritual thing. And I'm looking for fulfillment in life. I'm looking for happiness. I'm looking for contentment. I'm looking for meaning. I'm looking for purpose. I'm looking for joy. All these things in life, okay? And I go about them by trying to earn more money, by bungee jumping, by getting involved in relationships with people, specifically just for physical pleasure.
Becoming a rap artist.
Whatever, yeah, becoming a rap artist, I don't know.
That's it.
I didn't think of that one, but yeah, the seeking of money, the seeking of, let's say I'm gonna do it by collecting friends, all these kind of things. Do you notice how all these examples that I gave are of a physical thing? Right? Collecting money, collecting possessions, enjoying physical relationships with people, you know, all these different things, like you said, coming up. Fame in a way, you know. You know, so all these are a physical thing, but yet I'm trying to meet what? A spiritual need. I say I have a soul, and I'm looking for hope and joy and happiness and all these kind of things, but yet the way I try to go about finding those things are intangible things. Physical people, money, all these kind of things. You see the conflict in the worldview? How does a physical thing have anything to do with a spiritual thing? You see what I'm going to tell you something. I don't know whether all of you are Christians in this room or not, but if you're a Christian and you believe you have a soul and you're trying to find happiness through physical things, I'm going to tell you it will never work. Never work. Because those things just don't come together. Those things, those intangible things, those non-physical things like joy, confidence, peace, contentment, all those kind of things come through the non-physical reality. And so long as you try to find those things in the physical, you will be frustrated and never satisfied. Never. As a matter of fact, there's a guy in the Bible named Solomon who tried just about every physical thing that existed in his time, and none of it worked. None of it worked. And it was all because of a conflict in his worldview. Not that he didn't understand the truth, but the way he tried to live out the way he was living and what he believed didn't cohere. It didn't make sense. Now, there are other worldviews about that, like that too. There's what's called pantheism. Pantheism believes that everything is God. This is God, that's God, I'm God. Well, you're God too. You know, so birds are God, all these things are God. There's no physical reality. Everything is a manifestation of God. Hinduism is kind of pantheism. Okay? Pan is the word for all. Theism is the word for God. Pantheism is the view that everything's God. And so if everything's God and God is spiritual, then everything is spiritual. There's no physical things. This is all just illusion. Now, I'm not trying to make fun. Okay? You have to understand that when you're talking about worldviews and contradictions, some of them are so blatant, sometimes I don't understand how people don't see this. But when you're raised up in a culture this way, you just accept them. It's part of it. You live one way, and yet the tradition of your culture believes this, and you just accept that it's so. You see, if physical reality is just illusion, it's just all these manifestations, and that's all it is, and everything is God. What's the problem with me stepping in front of a train? Train's not real. Train's not physical. I'm not physical. Train's God, I'm God. What does it really matter? I'll guarantee you, just about every one of them, they wait for the train to go by, or they get across before the train comes. One or the other, you know. Ravi Zacharias says, even in India, either the bus goes across the street, or the person goes across the street, but they don't look at the same time.